Hello and welcome back to my channel, Craft Time by Casey. I am Casey and today I will be making a memory wire bracelet. This one, to be exact, is the one that I will be making in this video. Of course, I have it here beside one that I made. I think it was yesterday, it might have been the day before, but I am super happy with how they came out. I enjoy the nature theme. In this month's Sam's bead box, the Secret Garden, and all of the beads that are used in both of these bracelets came from the Sam's bead box. Of course, I used a few things from my own stash, some spacers, some charms, and I will definitely link everything down below that didn't come from the box. And if you would like to see how this bracelet came about, then stay tuned. All right, so we'll get right into it. So I am making a memory wire bracelet and it's going to be 5 strands. So I am going to be using my industrial cutters. These are cutters that I purchased at Home Depot, and definitely recommend you getting a set of stronger cutters because if you use regular, fine point cutters, they can be ruined when you cut memory wire because of how thick it is. So, first thing I'm gonna do, I've already made a few bracelets with this particular strand, so I don't have much left, but I'm going to cut out a 5-strand wire. All right, so here's the first, and it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so here's the 5th, and I will cut it where it overlaps a little. I'll go in there with my industrial cutters, just like that. So this will be my bracelet. Only 2 tools that I will be using for the most part until I add the charms at the end will be the cutters that I just used and round nose pliers. All right, so the way I stop at the end would be to roll it up on one end before I start. So I'll have one end that's kind of rolled up, and then I'll be loading the beads on from the other end. So I'm going to take my round nose pliers, and I want the loop to be pretty small, so I'm going to go to the end of my round nose pliers, and I'm just going to grab it pretty tight and roll it backwards. I'm going to switch it to the other. And it'll be just like that, just a little loop there at the end. So the beads will not fall off of that, and I have a loop to add the charms once I get finished. So I am going to be using, like I said in the intro, I'm going to be using mostly my beads from Sam's bead box. I will get the beads and spacers that I will be using for the first strand. All right, so the first beads that I'm gonna be using are the House-Made Star Rice Bead Mix Sweet Springtime. All right, so it came in several different colors. And as you can see, they have this almost star-looking silver painting in the middle. Really, really pretty. And I'm gonna start the first strand with that. So it's going to be a very simple back and forth. All right, so we're gonna go start with the spacer. Rice bead, spacer, rice bead. And I think what I'll do is do 2 of each color and then switch to the next color. All right, so again, this is the simple pattern, and I'll use 2 of each color until I make 1 full loop, and then we'll meet back up. All right, so here is our first strand. And as you can see, like I said, with the rice beads, I used each color 2 times, and I just went in that same pattern. Very small silver spacer in the middle of each bead. Everything that did not come in the bead box, I will link down below, things that I purchased for my own stash. So now on to the next strand. So for the next one, I'm going to be using the check glass daisy spacer, light tanzanite luster. So it's these very pretty, very light purple flower beads. And I will be using my own spacers. I like the pattern on the side. All right, so again, it'll be a simple back and forth pattern. So I'm gonna start with 3 of these flower beads. Of course, the hole is right in the center of those beads. 3, and then 1 spacer. Just like that. So I'll do 3 more. And then 1 spacer. All right, we work those all the way down. All right, and you can see how it goes from one pattern to the next, and then that will be the repeated pattern until it comes back to the beginning point. All right, so I have now finished that second strand, and I am a little short of the actual loop, and I have run out of the beads. But one thing I love about wire wrap bracelets is that they don't have to be exact. And they all, I mean, the beads actually look really good together, and it's going to look like you have just kind of mixed, matched bracelets kind of stacked together. So I absolutely think this is perfectly okay, and I'm going to go on to the next pattern in the bracelet. So for this next one, which will be the middle strand in this bracelet, I'm going to use the biggest beads that I'm going to use for the bracelet, and it's these flower beads, and they have the blue-ish purple color on one side, and then of course the bright silver on the other. It's the check glass pressed daisy blue luster, 8 millimeters. So I think these are going to look really good as that center strand. So the pattern is going to be a very simple back and forth. So I'm going to just do a flower, spacer, flower, spacer. I'll go ahead and do one more. Spacer. And I'll work them down. All right, so here is where they connect to the previous strand, and I think that looks pretty nice. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this strand, and I'll meet back up with you. All right, so we have the next strand completed, and now I will start the fourth strand. And same as the rest, it's going to be a back and forth, and I'm going to be using these very light pink beads, and I'll also be using these flower spacers that came from my own stash. So I'll put a couple on. Just bead spacer, bead spacer. And then have them go around to the bottom. And that is the pattern. All right, and we'll check back in after this strand. All right, so we have now finished the light pink round strand with the flower-esque spacer. And now we're gonna get into the last strand that's gonna take us all the way up to the end. So for this one, we'll be using the check glass pebble chips, the emerald teal right here that came in the Sam's bead box. And they're almost triangle, but you can kind of see it's rounded a little more. Very pretty color. And then the spacers again are from my own stash, tiny silver spacers, and they have a groove on the side. All right, we ended with the pink bead right here, so we'll start with the spacer this time, and then we'll do 2 green chips. So this time it's going to be spacer, then 2. Then spacer, then 2. All right, we'll work that around. And that is going to be the pattern for this last strand, and we'll meet up at the end. All right, so I've now finished this 5th strand, and here they all are. I think the light, almost pastel colors really go well together. And this last green one, the emerald one, you can see it doesn't make a complete circle, but just like the previous one that fell a little short, one of the things I think is pretty awesome about a wire wrap bracelet is that it doesn't have to be perfect. All the specific measurements, they don't have to line up, and it still looks really good together. So I will show you how I finish it off. It's going to be very similar to the other end where I'm gonna make another little loop, and then I'm going to put the charms on the ends. So this amount that I have left over is way too much to make a loop. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim that off. Again, I'm gonna use my industrial cutters, and I'm gonna get pretty close, right in there, and cut it. Don't want it to go flying, so I cover it up. And then take away the extra piece. So now I have this little bit. So I'm going to make sure all the beads are pushed down. I'm gonna get my round nose pliers, and I'm gonna do the same thing that I did in the beginning, and I'm just going to roll it back. So once I get one little circle just like that, I'm gonna switch it to the other one and roll. All right, and there's my little loop at the end. It's turned a little bit, so I'm going to just turn it a smidge. Want it to be. All right, and there we have it. There's the loop on the other end. And I wanna make sure it doesn't scratch. That piece isn't. All right, so there we go. So now we have the loop on either end, you can see there, and they are not, the beads are certainly not going to be falling off. So now the bracelet itself is done, and I think that looks so cool. I love this. It looks amazing. So I'm going to now add the charms. So this is one of the charms that came in the Sam's bead box. It's this awesome kind of nature leaf with the engravings. It's not smooth. You can feel the almost realistic leaf pattern feel on it. So I love this one. So in my own charm collection, I pulled out this one also to kind of continue with the nature theme. I pulled out a dragonfly. So this is going to be on the other end. So we'll very quickly add the charms to the end. So for this one, I'm going to use my 2 chain nose pliers. I'm gonna grab one of those jump rings, open it just a little bit more, go to the end, add it to the loop, and then add the leaf. And then close that jump ring. All right, so there we have the charm on that side, and then we'll flip it over. So we have the other jump ring. We're gonna open it a little bit, and we'll add it to the other loop, and then add that dragonfly, and then close the jump ring. All right, so now this is the finished product with the charms on the end, and I will set it up on my display so that we can see it a little bit better. I'm super happy with how it came out. All right, so here it is. Here is the one I just made on this tutorial. And of course I put it side by side with one that I made, I think I made it yesterday. It might've been the day before. But of course you can see I used several of the same beads, a couple different beads. I really like the way they came out. I used the other leaf charm, and of course on this one I used a butterfly. And I just like the nature outdoor theme. I love the way that these came out. And I really hope that you do too. So if you liked this video and you want to see other videos like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below and give me a like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys thought. What do you think of these bracelets? I absolutely love reading your comments. You guys are so, so kind. And I will go ahead and tell you, I have something coming up here in the very near future. I hope you guys stay tuned and keep watching. So I greatly appreciate each and every one of you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.